the NHL Playoffs have kicked off. Now, I'm cheating a little bit because I've started my first show about 2 games into some of these series, but I'm going back to my bracket challenge so I stay true to who I am. So I'm going to go through the Stanley Cup playoffs, say what I think is going to win. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. We'll see. On the Western Conference, I've got the Vegas Golden Knights beating the Chicago Blackhawks. So far, they seem to be doing that. I don't think there's much to delve into on that series. It's pretty obvious the Golden Knights really just dominated Chicago. Chicago snuck in at the end there during the play-in games, and there was that thought of, well, they're in the dance now. Who knows? Maybe something could change. Now the Golden Knights just look way too good for them. There was an overtime game today. Golden Knights won down 2-0. I don't think the Blackhawks are coming back there. Next is 2 seed Colorado Avalanche versus the Arizona Coyotes. I got Colorado. I think I was actually shocked Colorado didn't win the round robin to get the 1 seed. Arizona, they looked pretty good in the first round matchup against Nashville, but Colorado just looks way too good, way too fast. Another one that just seems to be dominating the series. I got that one maybe going 5 games. Next up, Dallas, Calgary. This game actually just ended. This series I think is going to be really close. I have the Flames eventually winning this series in a really tight matchup. I just think the consistency of Calgary's offense is just going to overtake Dallas. But I think this is going to be maybe the longest series of the first round. I think this one has more than enough potential to go 6, 7 rounds, or 7 games, excuse me. But we'll see. And lastly, on the Western Conference, we have the St. Louis Blues, the Vancouver Canucks. I think this is another one where, St. Louis, the defending Stanley Cup champions, they're coming in, they're the 4 seed out of the round robin. They didn't look amazing during the round robin, but Vancouver just, I don't think they have it to beat St. Louis yet. I think Vancouver's one of those very young teams that really got lucky, not lucky in the sense of not talented, but lucky in they're going to get to experience playoff hockey at a young team, maybe a year or 2 earlier than they should have, and it should really help this team build and mature as time goes on. But at the time, St. Louis is they're just too good. That's another one I don't think is going to go far. Maybe 6 games if Vancouver's on their best. Probably going to be closer to 5 games. On the Eastern Conference, I have my hometown Philadelphia Flyers versus the Montreal Canadiens. Obviously, I'm going with the Flyers, and I'm pretty sure, yep, this is my only sweep of the first round. And it's not just being a homer, although Montreal did look really good last night. They looked like they came out to play. Just talent-wise, the Flyers are just too much for them. Carey Price had to make some ridiculous saves yesterday, including the one on Scott Lawton where, I don't know, he might have caught maybe a half a centimeter with a stick and fired the shot off out of the net. I don't know. But that game easily could have been 4-1. Granted, Carter Hart had to stand up, and having a great young goalie is really going to help the Flyers through the entire playoffs. But I definitely think the Flyers are going to handle the Montreal Canadiens. Carey Price can only do so much, and Montreal's offense is just... I liken Montreal's offense to that of like a 12-year-old playing NHL, where they skate up the boards and just hopelessly throw the puck into the middle, and hope somebody comes up with it and scores. People might be hyping them up a little bit as the 12 seed. They got nothing to lose. They beat the Penguins, but the Penguins aren't the Flyers, and the Flyers are going to advance in the next round. The next games, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Columbus Blue Jackets. We've already had an all-timer with their first game, which went to 5 games, or 5 overtimes, and now you have, after today, Columbus taking the win today, just really getting dominated in terms of shots, puck possession, but one where it counted. So, hey, whatever, works. Can Columbus do it again? It was the perfect thing for the NHL to have Tampa Bay have to go up against Columbus after getting swept out of the playoffs and having to play Columbus again. They lost in 4 games. They were the 1 seed. They were coming in expecting to be, they wanted to get rid of that choke artist mentality, that choke artist mindset that everybody has of them. and they got swept by the Blue Jackets last year. So does Columbus do it again? It's a 1-1 series. Do they do it again? No, they don't do it again. I think Columbus is going to give them a fight. I think Columbus is going to give anybody a fight. They are a strong team. They're strong on the puck. They have a really good goaltender. Korpisalo he had 85 saves the other night. But to me, the first game they won when Tampa Bay won, even though it went to 5 overtimes, it was 88 shots to I think like 67 or 68, something like that. There was just way too many shots on the Tampa Bay side. Even today, where Columbus won, and if you looked at the score, you'd say, oh, they won pretty handily. Yeah, but Tampa Bay outshot them 37-21. I don't know if you can rely on 21 shots. Now, granted, you can have great opportunities, but I think 37 shots to 21 shots is definitely it's something that is going to continue through this series. And Columbus, they're iffy. Columbus, the series against the Maple Leafs as well kind of showed they're hot and cold. They're a John Tortorella team. They will come out and play world on fire all game, dominate, and you're like, wow, I don't know if anybody could beat this team. Then they can come out the very next game and just, in John Tortorella's words, said, absolutely suck. Well, and then Tortorella yells at his team, and then they bounce back and back and forth and back and forth. I just think there's going to be too much consistency on Tampa Bay. They really avoided a catastrophe with Victor Hedman. They don't have Stamkos, but at least they have Hedman. I see the series 5 or 6. I think maybe today might have been the only one Columbus could win. I think Game 3 is going to show a lot. If Columbus wins Game 3, maybe it gets a little shaky ground, but I think Tampa Bay is just going to keep plugging away and really outplaying Columbus with the puck. And eventually it's just going to... You can outplay somebody for an entire series, you're more than likely going to win. Next series, Washington, the Islanders. I got the Islanders. I think, this is a 6-3. The Islanders, early in the season, really looked strong. They looked really good. It was a great coaching job done by Barry Trotz. Everybody was looking at the Islanders like, maybe this is a team to worry about in the Eastern Conference. Now, granted, since before the break, the Islanders, kind of like the Penguins, started in this little free fall mode where they couldn't really get their bearings straight. They were losing a lot of games. They were struggling before the break. I think they've kind of bounced back. They've gotten back to who they are. They had a pretty tough series against Florida to get into the playoffs, but now that they're in the playoffs, I think they are going to be a dangerous team. And I think the other issue is, when you have a team like the Capitals, who is a dangerous team, who has a lot of weapons on their team, TJ Oshie and Ovechkin are definitely the two that are going to come to mind, you would think to yourself, well, maybe, Washington's probably going to pull it out. They also have Braden Holtby. Washington's got to pull this out. Not really. You got to remember, one of the biggest things and one of the most dangerous things is these are divisional rivals. They play each other multiple times a year. They were competitive each game this season series. The Islanders won a few games off them in the season. I don't think it makes... It's not like the Islanders are going into the playoffs. They don't know what to expect from Washington. And I think Washington just isn't playing up to their full potential. I think Braden Holtby, we know the Holtby of old, and you can always turn back to it, but this season, he's got a sub 900 save percentage. His goals against average isn't great. Is he going to be able to bail out that sketchy at best Washington defense long enough that powerful Washington offense can compensate for it? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a longer series. I think this is another one that could go 7, but I think it's actually going to go 6. I think the Islanders are going to take it against Washington, and Washington's going to have a first-round exit. And lastly, the Boston Bruins versus the Carolina Hurricanes. Bunch of jerks down in Carolina. By the way, anybody doesn't follow the Carolina Hurricanes on Twitter, I don't know if you know what you're missing out. They are excellent on Twitter. They troll everybody. They're wonderful on it. definitely Carolina taking the series. They're currently 1-1. I had them before the series even started. Carolina's taking the series. This was a difficult one to call. I think the main reason why was because Boston looks like the President's Cup trophy is coming at them already. I mean, the round robin, they just got torched. They had no answer in the round robin. They didn't know what they were doing. Whereas in Carolina, they played the series against the Rangers and they just utterly destroyed them. I mean, there was just no way for any of these teams to figure it out what they were doing, how they were going to react. The Rangers just got smacked around. I mean, game 3 they benched Lundqvist like he was their issue. He was not their issue. I definitely have Carolina beating Boston. Probably about game 5 or 6. 5 or 6. I think Carolina's offense is just. There's another one, just a really great offensive team. Now, granted, their defense and their goaltending, it's a little sketchy. It's not great. It's not terrible. Peter Mrazek, he can get the job done. But I just think that offense is going to be able to score enough that Mrazek survives. Second round, we have the Golden Knights and the Calgary Flames. I think it's another one the Golden Knights just dominate. I think Calgary's speed is going to be too much for Dallas, but Golden Knights are just too good. What an excellent franchise that just enters the NHL, and it works out perfectly for the NHL. Vegas comes in and just immediately is a juggernaut in the Western Conference. I'm sure the NHL is hoping Seattle does the same thing, but just Vegas, head and shoulders, I think, is better than Calgary, and I think they're gonna prove it pretty quickly in that series. Second series is Colorado and St. Louis. I think it's another one. This one's going to be a little bit closer. In the end, I have Colorado winning, but this one's going to be close. This one's going to be a tough series, I think, for both teams. St. Louis has the experience. You know, they've been here before. They won the Stanley Cup last year after basically being in last place in January. So they've had their backs up against the wall before. People have kind of forgotten about them before. But when you look at it, I think Colorado, again, just too much speed. Overall, a lot more talent. I think St. Louis is a team that relies on a lot of good players contributing and an excellent goalie in Jordan Binnington, but good players contributing when, maybe some of them are overreaching, looking at you, Braden Shen. Whereas in Colorado, it just has, with Landeskog and McKinnon, just top-line scoring is just way too much. And now sometimes you can negate that, but over that series, I just think Colorado is just going to just beat down St. Louis with their top line scoring and really work in, and probably take that series in about 6 games. On the Eastern Conference side, I get the Flyers and Islanders. I still have the Flyers winning, but this series scares me. There's just something about the Islanders. I don't like when the Flyers play the Islanders. There's just something about them. They seem to get the Flyers either on a bad time or they just get them out of their groove. But whatever it is, the Islanders tend to do a really good job at beating the Flyers. But I think the Flyers have kind of, through the year, gotten used to playing under Alain Vigneault's system. I think he's able to dig into his team and dig into his players and really bury into what he wants for each player. Carter Hart's playing like a man possessed right now. It's his 22nd birthday today. All of Philadelphia loves him. So, but he's playing out of his mind. There's something to be said about a hot goalie, and the LA Kings can tell you what happens if you have a hot goalie. I think the Flyers need their top line to step up in that series. They haven't really showed themselves so far in this playoffs. The secondary guys, the third line, the fourth line, they've been the ones that have been scoring. I think the top line really is going to have to show itself in this series. If the Flyers want to win, I think they will. I think there's just too much talent on the Flyers, but the Islanders are absolutely a scary team in that series. That series will probably go about 6 games. And then on the bottom would be the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Carolina Hurricanes. I think Tampa Bay sweeps them. I think this one, stylistically, at least with Boston, they adjusted after Boston swept Carolina last year. I think Carolina's adjusted better to use their speed as compared to the power of the Boston Bruins. this one's a problem because you're playing a team that plays the exact same way you do. If you're Carolina, you rely on speed and offensive firepower. That's what the Tampa Bay Lightning do. They have a really good defense, a really good goalie, but it's that offense that everybody's afraid of. They have a powerhouse offense that relies on speed, just like Carolina. It's just Tampa Bay is a lot more talented. Steven Stamkos still is not out for the entire playoffs. So there is a possibility he comes back in that series. If he comes back in that series, now you really have an issue if you're Carolina. I think this is a sweep. I enjoy watching the Hurricanes play. They play a fun, exciting style of hockey. But I just think when you have two teams that run the exact same way, I'm going with one that's just more talented than they are. So, Lightning in 4. Western Conference Finals, the Golden Knights, the Colorado Avalanche. You know, the Avalanche, it's an interesting series between the Golden Knights and the Avalanche. These two teams faced off against each other for the 1 seed in their round robin, respectively. Vegas ended up winning in overtime, and I will say one thing, Colorado handed that game to the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's not a slight at Vegas. That is just, if you go back and watch that 3-on-3 overtime, I'm a Flyers fan, so I'm used to yelling shoot just about every time a team has the puck in the offensive zone. Colorado would not shoot. You could see that loss coming from about a minute left in the overtime. Colorado had possession, had multiple opportunities for maybe not A+ shots, but B minus shots. They're coming your way. Shoot. Just put pucks on net. Just wouldn't shoot. We're skating it out. Ended up one too many passes. Vegas got out in a rush, and boom, just like that, the Vegas Golden Knights are the 1 seed. It was the perfect example of why you can't play with the puck too long. You could see that Colorado just had it a little too long without doing really anything. Vegas took the puck and scored almost instantly after getting the puck back. When it comes to that series, I think Colorado will make the adjustment. I think, especially now if they're back playing multiple series, I think they make the adjustment there. I think you absolutely will run into Colorado. Just another team that just overall talent is better than Vegas. Vegas is one of those teams that has really good players top to bottom. I mean, there's no point where you look at Vegas and go, yeah, I don't really like that guy. No, they're all pretty damn good. I'm a big fan of the Vegas Golden Knights, but I think Colorado is the same way. Colorado was just a scorching hot team before the break. I think it's only going to take so long before they get back into that mode and that style of play where they are really just powering through. And I think they're going to take out the Golden Knights probably about 6 games. Eastern Conference Finals, I'm still going with the Flyers. The Flyers dominated the Lightning in their round robin matchup. I think the Lightning and the Flyers are going to go 7 games. Truly, I think that is going to be a back and forth, just absolute drag out series. The only issue I think with the Lightning is while the Lightning have had the Flyers' number in recent years, it's not like they're destroying them. It's their high scoring games that the Lightning just win in the end, and the main reason why was because it was Vasilevsky versus Brian Elliott. Well, yeah, that's how that's going to work. Or Vasilevsky versus a young, even more inexperienced Carter Hart. Now there's a difference. Now the Flyers are solid in net. They have really good defense. Again, I think the thing with the Flyers that's really helping is while their first line may not be scoring, they're negating the other team's first lines. When the Flyers' first line is out there, while they don't score, neither does the other team's first line. And then the third and fourth line for the Flyers come out just like bats out of hell, and they just start dominating the third and fourth line of every team they've played, including the Lightning. We saw it with the game against the Lightning. The third and fourth line for the Flyers were who scored all their goals. It was the Flyers' the bottom lines took off. However, Carter Hart stood on his head and held it up. But it doesn't look like he's standing on his head. It looks like he's just playing the game. And I think that's going to be something you're going to see in that series as well. I think Tampa Bay is going to come out hot, but I really don't think they're going to have enough to beat Carter Hart and the Flyers' defense now that they can't score 5-6 goals on the Flyers to end up getting that win. Stanley Cup Final, Philadelphia Flyers, Colorado Avalanche. This series is going one of two ways. Either way. You're splitting hairs on either one of these teams. This is a Stanley Cup Final that 150 days ago people saw. This was what you were going to see 150 days ago. You were going to have the Colorado Avalanche and the Philadelphia Flyers. They were the hottest teams in hockey. One was the hottest team in the West Coast. One was the hottest team in the East Coast. They were both just barreling down at all the top teams. They were just beating teams and throwing them aside like they weren't even there. So I think this series is going to be the absolute same. For Homer's sake, I'm going to pick the Flyers, but I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be very upset, but I wouldn't be shocked if Colorado ended up taking the series. I think another one is the play of Carter Hart would be how I would put it on the back of the Flyers and say the Flyers are going to win. However, I could also say the youth inexperience of Carter Hart is going to be how they lose. I mean, you're playing multiple series, and you're just getting beat up. It's incredibly difficult to stay hot for so many games. They're going to have tough series. I don't think Montreal is going to be a tough series for them, but after that, they have a tough series with the Islanders, a tough series with Tampa Bay. Those are two teams. They like to shoot a lot. They like to get a lot of shots. They get a lot of good scoring opportunities. They have really good offenses. It's going to be tough for Carter Hart to stay hot, whereas in Colorado it could be the same thing now. Colorado's offense could struggle a little bit. It's the same thing. Can Colorado, sometimes they go into grooves, they go into funks where their offense looks for the perfect opportunity instead of just shooting or trying to put a puck on the net and see what you can get. They look like they are looking for the absolute best possible opportunity they can have, and it ends up not working out for them. Could that happen in 2 games? You lose 2 games, now it's just talent against talent, and both teams are extremely talented. Like I said, I would go with the Flyers in 7. If not, I wouldn't be surprised to see Colorado in 7, maybe 6 for either one, but definitely between the both of them, it's going to be a fun Stanley Cup playoffs.